Yo, how's it going? So, the most disturbing things caught on live TV. Yeah, let's just go ahead.
Disturbing live TV
It's gonna
moments.
be
Before I start this video, I do want to say
crazy.
we are covering very sensitive and mature topics. I know a lot of my videos, it's mainly most of them, but this one, there is a lot of more mature topics. I don't know how else to say it. But yeah,
Okay.
just wanted to say that as a quick warning before the video starts. And like I said, we're going to be talking about disturbing
Oh, that's
live
nice
TV
art.
moments. Pretty self explanatory. There's nothing really more to say.
That's a pretty
Anyway,
good
I hope
looking.
you
That's
guys
that's
enjoy
good
the
art right
video.
there.
Christine Chubbuck. On July
Okay.
16th, the Herald Tribune reported on what it termed as the quote, first time a has been telecast. The story in
Damn.
question was about Christine Chubbuck, a then 29-year-old American news reporter working for WXLT TV, later known as WWSB, an affiliate of ABC News. She hosted a talk show about community affairs in Sarasota, Florida, titled Suncoast Digest. Her show ran for 30 minutes starting from 9 a.m. On July 15th,
30 minutes.
1974, as she
Okay.
came into the studio, the news director, Gordon Galbraith, said she was in a quote, better mood than any of the other times when she came in. However, contrary to her usual practice, she asked to read a short newscast, and even more strange, she asked her technical director, Linford Rickard, if he can record the segment, that being on live TV, of course. Back in the 1970s, as confirmed by Rolling Stone, local TV programs in Sarasota, Florida would not be recorded for posterity. Rickard said he didn't think too much about the strange request. In her
Mm.
newscast, she read through 3 news items before introducing a clip from a shooting that had taken place at a local restaurant, Beef and
Wow.
Bottle. The clip, however, refused to play as planned, at which point she looked at the camera and said, "In keeping with Channel 40's policy of bringing you the latest in blood and guts and in living color, bring you another first attempted." She pulled out a .38 caliber Smith & Wesson and shot herself in the head just behind the right ear. Immediately,
What?
she slumped forward and struck her head on the news desk and then fell to the
Bro.
floor. The director, Rickard, faded the screen to black and then played a full movie after a short PSA. A bit of mayhem ensued as some
Holy.
viewers tried to call in to check if the shooting was real, while some people called the police. It was estimated that a few hundred people were watching when the incident happened. Chubbuck died a few hours later in the hospital, where she had been rushed after the incident. A natural question following this case is why? Why did she choose to end her life,
That's true.
especially in such a gruesome way? Well, in the words of Simmons, the station's director, quote, "The crux of the situation was that she was a 29-year-old girl who wanted to be married and who wasn't," end quote. It was a known fact
Oh,
that
she was
Chubbuck had a
sad and
problem with
lonely.
maintaining intimate relationships, and this had led her to depression. Also, she had a habit of self-deprecation for being, quote, dateless. One incident showcasing this was when she baked a cake for a colleague, George Peter Ryan, for his birthday. She was trying to get his romantic attention, only to find out he was involved with a different colleague, sports reporter Andrea Kirby. Her coworker said Chubbuck was, quote, brusque and defensive whenever anyone tried to be friendly with her. An interesting fact about her death is that among the scripts she was reading as part of the newscast was a note with instructions on how her suicide should be reported. Simmons, the news director, said part of the script read, TV40 news personality Christine Chubbuck shot herself in a live broadcast this morning on a Channel 40 talk program. She was rushed to Sarasota Memorial Hospital, where she remains in critical condition. Another fact which explains how she sneaked the gun into the building is that she was a great puppeteer. That morning, she carried a brown bag and 2 puppets and placed them under her desk. They were seen by the technical director, but since they were props, he thought nothing of it.
Yeah, yeah.
Given that the broadcast occurred in 1974, it's conceivable, though extremely unlikely, that the could have been captured on video by a home viewer at the time. At the time, a number of rudimentary VCRs were commercially available, including the U-Matic, one of the earliest home recorders. Yet, having one in a household in 1974 was extremely unlikely due to its high price. The video is regarded being extremely difficult to obtain unless some other
Who
proof
wants
comes
to
about,
even
which means
try
someone
to
else
obtain that
recorded it.
video though?
Notably, many people claim to have seen the video from places other than the initial live broadcast,
Nah,
such as early
bro.
websites, FBI training DVDs, and Mondo movies like Faces of Death. Although given the circumstances, this seems implausible. The tape is still in Molly Nelson's possession, the widow of the former WXLT TV owner, according to a June 8, 2016 report by Vulture. For reasons he never revealed, her husband maintained a copy of the tape, which was given to her upon his passing. She felt uneasy when she started receiving demands to see it after this was made public. She claims that she gave the tape to a sizable law firm for safekeeping and that she has no plans to ever let anyone view it. She also
Good,
claims that she
good.
only kept the tape because she wanted to commemorate her late husband.
Wow.
Lee
Dude,
Harvey
that's sad.
Oswald. Lee Harvey
She was
Oswald
so
is a name
lonely.
known by many because it's associated with the tragic assassination of President John F. Kennedy. Oswald is alleged to have made the deadly shot on November 22nd, 1963, in Dallas, Texas, as President Kennedy rode in his open car motorcade. The 24-year-old was set for trial on November 24th, 1963, but was shot and killed before it ensued. His case then became full of speculation, with some believing that he indeed shot the president while others argued otherwise. Evidence in support of his conviction was that on the day of the assassination, he had been seen on the 6th floor of the work building with an assault rifle. He was seen leaving the scene of the shooting, and a police officer, J.D. Tippit, confronted him some distance away from the shooting. This was still less than an hour after the shooting. He's alleged to have shot the police officer and fled. On the other hand, evidence against his conviction is, for example, the conclusion by the House of Representatives Assassination Committee in 1979 that another shooter might have been involved in the assassination. About 30 minutes after the officer was shot, Oswald was arrested at the Texas Theater in the Dallas suburb of Oak Cliff. He was formally arrested the next day, November 23rd, for the numbers of President Kennedy and Officer Tippit. A day later, on November 24th, Oswald was taken to the Dallas Police Headquarters, held in the basement, while in transit to the more secure county jail. During his departure from the police headquarters, given his case had the attention of the whole nation, there was a crowd with live TV cameras and a lot of people recording. Suddenly, a man, Jack Ruby, emerged from the crowd and shot him. Ruby, originally named Jacob Rubenstein, fired from a .38 Colt Cobra revolver at a close range, and thus Oswald was fatally wounded. In the
But
clip
why?
from the incident, Oswald is seen being escorted out of the police station while guarded by two individuals, and in a split second, Ruby jumps in front of them from the crowd and immediately fires the gun. A reporter, Tom Pettit from NBC, is heard saying, "He's been shot. He's been shot. Lee Oswald has been shot." The entire scene is disturbing to watch, and thus it's unimaginable that it actually aired on live TV. Notably, Ruby's actions led to more conspiracies regarding the assassination. For
Facts.
example,
Why?
he's said to have a relationship with several Dallas police and often did favors for them in exchange for leniency in the way they scrutinized his strip joints and dance halls, so there was speculation that he might have killed Oswald to prevent him from revealing a larger conspiracy. None of these claims were verified, and the official report from the Warren Commission in 1964 concluded that neither Oswald nor Ruby were part of any larger conspiracy. Initially, Ruby was charged with malice of murder and sentenced to death. His defense was that Kennedy's murder had brought him grief to the point of insanity, and so he decided to kill Oswald. However, in 1966,
What?
his conviction was reversed by the Texas Court of Appeals on grounds that he could not have been tried fairly, and also cited wrongful admission of testimony. As he waited his new
That's so
trial,
weird.
he
This is
passed
a
away
weird,
to lung
case
cancer in
or
January 1967
whatever.
in a local Dallas hospital. Rodney Alcala. The story of Rodney Alcala is pretty wild because it raises the question, how did a serial killer end up on a live TV dating
Oh,
game?
I heard
To
about
better
this one.
understand why his TV appearance was disturbing, we first have to go through his background. Before his TV appearance, Alcala was suspected to have murdered at least 4 people. This is considered a conservative number by some because other accounts place his total murders at about 130, a combined number for before
130?
and after the live TV appearance. His childhood background is a little hidden, but it's known that he was born in San Antonio, Texas in 1943. He moved with his family to Mexico when he was 8 years old, and then 3 years later, he moved with his mother back to suburban Los Angeles. His father had abandoned them after just 3 years in Mexico. He then
Damn.
joined the army as a clerk at age 17, but was medically discharged. He had a nervous breakdown and was dismissed on mental health grounds. Also, he was
Ooh.
brilliant with an IQ of 135 and even managed to attend UCLA and later New York University studying film. In 1969, age 25, Alcala attempted his first kill. The victim was Tali Shapiro, an 8-year-old girl he lured into his apartment in Hollywood. The incident happened on September 25th in 1969 when Shapiro, then a second grader, was walking along Hollywood Sunset Boulevard and accepted a ride from Alcala, who lied about knowing her parents. A good Samaritan who saw the abduction followed Alcala to his apartment and then called the police. Officers came and tried to get Alcala to open up unsuccessfully, so they busted down the door and found Shapiro on the floor with severe injuries. Alcala had escaped via the back door. This was the first time Alcala showcased his killing signature: beating, biting, and strangling. His escape led him to New York, where he picked an alias, John Berger, and joined film school. Surprisingly, he studied under Roman Polanski, a renowned film producer, director, screenwriter, and actor who fled the US after pleading guilty to intercourse with a minor. Alcala was later convicted
guy's
of
a
the
monster.
in 1970, but only served 34 months in jail for defiling a minor, as Shapiro's parents didn't want her testifying at the trial for Fast forwarding to 1980, he was convicted of murdering Robin Samso, a 12-year-old. The conviction was overturned twice before finally getting a death sentence for her murder, and also for the murders of Georgia Wixted, Jill Parento, Charlotte Lamb, and Jim Barracombe that occurred in the
Wow, bro.
1970s. It's therefore
Wow.
believed that between 1969 and 1980, he could have murdered a lot more people. In 2012, he confessed to the murders of Cornelia Crilly, flight attendant, and Ellen Hover, an heiress, and in 2016 got charged with murdering 28-year-old Christine Ruth Thornton. Now, knowing his story, it's disturbing that on Wednesday, September 13th, 1978, Alcala made an appearance on the TV matchmaking show, The Dating Game. Even more disturbing is that the day's bachelorette, Cheryl Bradshaw, facing the lineup of 4 eligible bachelors, chose Alcala, going by bachelor number 1. He was introduced as a, quote, successful photographer and a fan of skydiving and motorcycling. During his appearance at the show, it was, however, confirmed that his career was typesetting at Los Angeles Times. The mention of photography was thus a curious bit because it seemed that he only used it to lure his female victims. He would then kill them and have their bodies in grotesque poses before taking pictures. An interesting bit of his appearance on the show
that just gives
was
me
also
like
the kind of
chills
answers
thinking
he
about
gave
that
to the
type of stuff.
Bachelorette. For example, he said his best time is at night because, quote, nighttime is when it really gets good, end quote. He also did an impression of a dirty old man while at it. He won the game, and with Cheryl Bradshaw, they were supposed to go on and get tennis lessons and a trip to Magic Mountain. However, Bradshaw said her intuition didn't let her. She said that while they were backstage conversing, she got extremely creepy vibes from him, and she just decided to not go with him. And she never saw him again. But that decision probably saved her life.
Great intuition. That is like ultra
WDBJ
instinct.
reporter and cameraman. On a regular morning of August 26, 2015, 24-year-old Allison Parker, a news reporter, and 27-year-old
I've seen
Adam
this one,
Ward,
bro.
a
This one's
photojournalist,
horrible,
both working
bro.
for CBS Roanoke affiliate WDBJ TV.
I didn't watch the video,
were fatally
but
shot while in the middle of a live television interview. Parker
I saw the
was
news
interviewing
about this.
Vicki Gardner, a director for a local chamber of commerce at Smith Mountain Lake in Monetta. At around 6:46 a.m., the gunman, Vester Lee Flanagan II, approached the trio and shot about 15 times from a Glock 19, killing Parker and Ward instantly. Gardner was hospitalized, received surgery for her wounds, and as of 2020, she said she had to come a long way in both physical and mental recovery. Flanagan II was a former journalist at WDBJ and had been fired on February 1st, 2013. He had appeared on air at the station as Bruce Williams. In the incident video, he is shown with an outstretched arm holding the gun and firing repeatedly at Parker. Apparently, he had first hit Ward and Parker tried to run away. She was heard screaming and saying, "Oh my God," as she got shot and fell. As Ward fell, the camera momentarily captured the image of the gunman. The feed was switched quickly to the anchor at the station, who was bewildered and just said, "Okay, not sure what happened there." It was also bizarre that Flanagan had walked up to them and just stopped a few feet away, but didn't start shooting until Ward pointed the camera at Parker and Gardner. It was as if he wanted the interview to go live first. Even weirder is that he posted the whole ordeal on his social media. So, why did Flanagan do this? Well, it's evident that even WDBJ's president and general manager, Jeffrey Marks, knew Flanagan had the potential to do so because in an interview, Marks said Flanagan's name instantly came to mind when he heard about the shooting. Flanagan had left the station, quote, in a cloud, and it was because he was asked to leave and actually escorted by the police out of the station after being fired. Marks said Flanagan
he had a
was
grudge.
an unhappy man
He wanted
and was
to, like,
extremely
revenge.
difficult to work with. He'd been dismissed due to many incidents of anger, and he didn't take that well. On the alleged Flanagan Twitter account, the graphic video of the shooting was posted along with a series of tweets referencing Park and Ward. One tweet said, "Allison made racist comments," and another, "Adam went to HR on me after working with me one time." So it seemed there was a personal vendetta. The video posted on social media has him uttering the word bitch before firing at Parker. Later on, at 8:23 in the morning, Flanagan II faxed ABC News a, quote, note for friends and family, and then called him at 10 a.m. to confess. The authorities managed to track him down using his phone as he tried fleeing using a rented Chevrolet Sonic on the I-81 and then I-86. A trooper tried to stop him after an automatic license plate reader identified the car, but Flanagan sped off. He ran off the side of the road and struck an embankment near Markham, Virginia. He was found in the car with gunshot wounds. They airlifted him to a hospital in Falls Church, but he succumbed to the injuries and was declared dead at 1:26 p.m. Carl Wallenda. Performing death-defying acts is nothing new to TV, but there's always a chance that something could go wrong. This
True.
is exactly what happened to 73-year-old Carl Wallenda on March 22nd,
73 years old?
1978. While walking a wire and with live television broadcasts covering the act, the world watched in horror as he fell 100 feet to his death. He landed on a taxi and bounced onto the pavement. Wallenda wasn't new to walking on a tightrope and already had built a great reputation as a daredevil in doing similar stunts. The German-born performer was raised in a circus family and started learning stunts as a young child. By the time he was in his teens, in 1922, he started the Flying Wallendas, a group that did the traveling balancing act. The group consisted of Herman, his brother, Helen Kreis, his girlfriend, later his wife, and Joseph Geiger, a friend from school. All these individuals had circus training. They toured Europe a lot in their earlier years, garnering a reputation that had them even referred to as the Great Wallendas. They specialized in walking tightropes, high-wire bicycling, and the four-man pyramid act. They eventually moved to America under the wing of John Ringling, an American circus entrepreneur. Their debut in the US was at Madison Square Garden in New York City, where they got a standing ovation. They got so famous so quickly that Wallenda's reputation preceded him. One of their most memorable acts was a death-defying 7-person, 3-tier pyramid tightrope walk, with the highest person balancing on a chair. Their success was, however, not riddled with danger.
This is insane.
Before Carl Wallenda's deadly fall, the crew had witnessed other deaths. For example, in 1962, at the Shrine Circus in Detroit, their 7-person pyramid collapsed after the front man wavered. 3 of the crew died: Wallenda's son-in-law, tightrope partner, and nephew. Wallenda's son got paralyzed from the waist down, while the niece had a serious head injury. Just a year later, Wallenda's sister-in-law fell to her death from a tightrope. Also, just a few years later,
I'm sorry, I would call it
son-in-law
quits
died
right
from
there.
Electrocution after grabbing a live wire while doing a stunt. It seems all these deaths were seen as less compared to the success he got. For example, setting the world high wire record by walking 1,800 feet across Kings Island. He also did a high wire walk across the Tallulah Gorge. On the day he fell to his death, he was in San Juan, Puerto Rico, for a performance to attract his audience to the Pan American Circus performance that he was to do with his 17-year-old granddaughter, Rita. The stunt was held at beachfront hotels, where a 750-foot long cable was strung between Flamboyant Hotel and Condado Plaza Hotel. About halfway through the wire, he struggled against high winds and started teetering. This lasted for about 30 seconds before he fell. A local news crew, San Juan Star, was recording the performance for broadcast. Jane Baird, the reporter, said that around the midpoint, the wire was, quote, dancing underneath him. Members of his crew who were holding the guide wires yelled at him to sit, Poppy, sit, but as he tried to squat, he was blown off the wire. His death was attributed to multiple fractures and traumas. This, however, wasn't the end of his legacy, since his great-grandson, Nick Wallenda, kept performing insane stunts and even went back to the same location where Wallenda died just to do the same act and successfully complete it. Alright, that's going to be the end of this video.
Nick,
if you guys
bro,
enjoyed it,
bro,
make sure to leave a like. If you guys
it's
are
not
new to the
worth it.
channel, it would be awesome if you could subscribe. And I'll see you guys next time I upload.
All right, dope. All right. I mean, yo, I feel bad for the first woman. What was her name?
OT, disturbing live TV moments.
I'm
Before
sorry.
I start this video, I do want to say, I don't know how else to say it, but there's nothing really more to say. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoy the video. Christine Chab.
Okay, yeah, I feel bad for Christine Chubbuck. That one's pretty sad, man. All she wanted to find is like low-key love and whatnot, and try and feel less lonely in this world. And it's sad that, you know, the way everything unfolded for her, man. That was actually pretty sad. Actually, you know, that was pretty devastating. Same goes with the poor news reporters that were just trying to do their news, and this guy that was just on a vendetta went down and, you know, killed them. That's another sad thing, man. But anyway, all right, catch y'all later.